All right, all right, all right. Thank you everyone for watching. It's a pleasure to be here again, chatting about some fun topics. My name is Dr. Bolanle Akinrambi, psychiatrist and founder at Bright Minds MD in New Jersey, where we help people with depression and anxiety feel better and live better with fewer medications and wellness practices. I'm excited today because I'm joined by one of my very good friends. We trained together in residency, Dr. Zainab Aldhaher. She is a board certified child and adult psychiatrist practicing in California. Welcome, Dr. Aldhaher.
Thank you. So good
Awesome.
to be here with you.
I'm so excited you were able to
Yes.
join. Now I'm like, should I call you Zainab or Dr. Aldhaher?
I know. We're so used to, our nicknames and everything. I
That's
respond to anything. My patients, my kid patients, so I see kids, adults, and like the kids that I see and the families that I work with call me Dr. Z or Dr. A, and I'll respond to any of those
to
things.
any of it.
And it's
Awesome,
fun
awesome. So
and
I
easy.
might I
Yeah.
might switch back and forth just
Yes.
because we're friends, but I'll try to stick with Dr. Aldhaher for this interview, right?
Sounds
Okay.
good.
So I'm gonna jump right into it. We were talking about the holidays as they approach, right? It is the holiday season. It's been jump
Yeah.
started already by Thanksgiving, and while
Right.
that's a festive season for a lot of people, in
Hmm.
joyous occasion, for many it's a time of stress, anxiety, trepidations because
Hmm.
with the holidays come family gatherings, a lot of gift giving, and
Hmm.
a change in typical routine for a lot of people and a lot of families.
Hmm.
So, what we're going to be talking about today is that because as a child and adolescent expert, I imagine like a lot of your patients are already, talking to you about these things and families and what to do about it. So I'm hoping we can,
Hmm.
talk a little bit about that today
Yeah.
and get to share some ideas and ways that maybe you've been recommending to some of your patients and how to navigate these things. So that's what I'm hoping we can talk about today.
Yeah.
And I want to start with a disclaimer today. This is not medical advice. This
Hmm.
is purely for entertainment and information
Hmm.
purposes. And I encourage anyone listening to this to speak with their own psychiatrist or mental health provider about any concerns that they have. But I and Dr. Aldhaher will be talking, in general today, mostly for educational
General, not no,
purposes.
general information.
Awesome, awesome. So,
Yeah.
why don't we jump right into it, Dr. Aldhaher? So, what have you been hearing from your patients regarding the holidays and fears and things that are coming up?
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, in some ways, this is like in the psych world can be high season,
Right.
for us. For kids, now I see kids, teens, work with families, adults who are also, parents, and some of those have kids who do have mental health challenges, don't, or have their own. And so I see like a really widespread things, but definitely the holidays just bring up things for a lot of people, just
Many.
because it is a change in routine and that. So I mean, one of the things I'd say like top or top three at least is like, meals, holiday meals. And the reason is, obviously like meals are a time where we connect. Meals are a time where we often come together during the holidays. And that can bring up a lot of issues for people around food, around table manners, around behavior, depending on the age of your kids. So I would say, the biggest thing that I'm hearing about, with like parents and also like, parents of kids that I treat is like, just like how to approach the meal. And I really like to say, like, the first thing I would think of is like set a clear intention. Like what is your, you going to grandma's house, or you're hosting, or you guys are just sitting together, even if you don't celebrate anything and it's just your time off work. What's the intention? Because oftentimes it can get mixed up in like trying to cater to everyone's menu, or trying to, like avoid embarrassing situations, or make sure everyone eats, and not rude to whoever is hosted or cooked the meal, but like
Right.
the purpose often for a meal, a holiday meal, a gathering, is to connect, right?
Right.
So like right off the top, you want to like kind of, when the focus becomes less so on food and what are we eating and not eating and what are we, and it's like about connecting, about like talking, conversing, like, so, there's that. And so and you want a big picture. The big picture, most of us living out here in the West don't have, big nutritional issues. And this is, of course, aside from the families in that who are struggling with like eating disorders, are fed, certain other things. But generally, like in the West, like we're not, as a whole, like struggling with a lot of like nutritional issues, like with the remainder of the world. So it's one meal, or a couple of meals. So that big picture of like, okay, like if my child, is picky and only wants to have the dinner roll, and like checking in with yourself, like, okay, is this a problem for them? Like they're going to be okay, like having not eaten or, eating before or after, but is it more of like, it's putting me in an uncomfortable spot, or now I'm embarrassed because my kid's not eating anything else that's being offered. But, so something that can be helpful is like a little bit of a huddle, before we head into grandma's house or before people come over, and like always keeping in mind the age of the child, always keeping in mind the age of the child. So like we're thinking for the younger kids, or, like the tots, that like, if they're, even if it's like, okay, if they don't want an item in that, to how to teach them how to just politely say no, like, no, thank you. And maybe that's it, or like the expectation of, I need you to be able to sit with us as a whole for 5-10 minutes, and then you can go play with the rest of the kids.
Thank you, Dr.
Or if it's for,
no, go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt. I was just trying to highlight that because when we started talking about this, actually, interestingly, I was thinking about it from the hostess perspective. But actually, it sounds like you're also hearing things that are coming from the guest perspective, right? The family, not the family hosting, but the family with children who's going to now be hosted by another family and worrying about the things that come. That's so interesting. We were thinking in different directions, but that's super, interesting, because if we're thinking it, other people are thinking it as well. So go ahead. I'm sorry. And I want to highlight, you mentioned, so focusing on what this is about,
age,
right? Instead of obsessing
and what
about
it's
the food.
about, it's about connecting. It's about essentially, rather than, yes, we would all love our children to be able to flavor different palettes and all the different colors of the plate and have a nutritional balanced meal, but one meal is not a big deal. If they eat that one dinner roll, but it means that they're sitting and having a conversation and connecting, and they're, and everything, then it's sort of like pick your battles, like a lot of this stuff, like we want them to have a balance in that and be open to different things. But is it the fight? Is it now is the time, during the holiday meal when it's already pressure, you're already with extended family, already you're sort of feel like you're in the spotlight in a way of a parent of young kids. So sort of like let it go, and if it's just a dinner roll, it's a dinner roll. That means that they're sitting and they're having a conversation and they're interacting, so but
on the
having
connection and not the food
connection, and then the essentially you're teaching them how to small talk, or how to talk to relatives they haven't seen or only see once a year, twice a year, of like how to talk and how to connect. And like that can be kind of like the teaching point, or the takeaway, not really like, did they eat like all of these things? Did they have the turkey? Did they have this? Did they have the stuffing? And then the other thing to keep in mind is the age. Always. I mean, this is for me, like, first nature, think of the age, but, like a toddler, the expectation of, 5-10 minutes often is great, and then go and play, like sit, have something, sit politely. If you can sort of like, if you can pick like being seated 5-10 minutes, enjoying having a little bit of conversation, rather than kind of forcing them to sit through 45 minutes, and it's kind of a nightmare for everybody, like
appropriate expectations. What can they do?
Appropriate expectations, baby in a high chair versus a toddler versus a school age versus a teen tween. So the teen tween, maybe the expectation in the pre-huddle will be, listen, honey, like I know it's not the most fun thing to be around great aunt and whoever, but I really expect this meal, you put the phone away and it's not even in the room. Like that's maybe the expectation we set for the tween. And then also the no thank you. Like if they're, have their own body issues in that age group, of course, say, how to politely decline, but engage somehow in the conversation. And maybe that's like the best that you can hope for the teens and tweens,
Absolutely. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. So that's really highlighted. And I really like that you're highlighting the connection, focusing on what's important, why we're doing this in the first place is
Mm-hmm.
connection, setting appropriate, developmentally appropriate expectations for the age of the child, and be
Mm-hmm.
satisfied at the end of the day and choose the battles on the food end.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Another one that I've heard about, though, shifting gears a little bit, would be gift given, right? Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
some people have a lot, some people don't have much. But one of the concerns for people or children who may already have so much might be, what do I get them? What if they open their gift and they're disappointed or
Mm-hmm.
they're not satisfied? That's kind of like a
Mm-hmm.
sinking feeling for a parent to experience that.
Mm-hmm.
How do you,
Absolutely.
how do you address this in with your patients or in your practice?
The most I've had this come up is like anxiety or trepidation because of last Christmas, this and this and this played out. And now I'm nervous going into this Christmas because last Christmas, my 3-year-old opened up grandma's gift and made a face and tossed it aside. And then now I feel so ashamed and embarrassed in front of my mom. And I feel like I'm not a good mom because I haven't taught them good manners, or this is their behavior is a reflection of me. And now what does this mean about me? And that kind of thing. I see this a lot coming up with like parents, particularly of young children. And again, keeping big picture and age in mind, and that kids, for better or for worse, don't have much of a filter. And they have less of a filter. The younger they are, the less of a filter. Like if you really want honest advice or honest take or honest opinion, you go to a young kid,
This is
because they're
true.
going to tell it to you straight. Like, mommy, you look tired today. Or mommy, what's happening? It's like, so, and we learn the filter, aka social norms, as we grow up. Like that's part
True.
of like developing into an adult in
True.
society. So kids
True.
are still learning. Think about that's a skill they're still learning. And
Uh-huh.
like their reaction is just like that's just their like they're gonna give you what they are reacting. They're not gonna put that filter. And so to
Mhm.
keep that in mind, and then to keep like this is an issue, this is more of, and it's usually more of a this is a us issue rather than a them issue, because
Okay.
a gift can mean a lot of different things for people. For some
Right.
people it's the most important way they express love, it's the most important way they express appreciation,
So
etc.
they can
And for
feel very
other people,
disappointing if then you
right,
express your love in this gift and this child looks at it and makes a face.
yeah,
That's
or tosses it
heartbreaking.
aside, or says, I don't like this. I didn't want this one in this color. I wanted it in a rainbow color. And so I think, again, like trying the pre gift huddle or trying the pre thing huddle of saying, okay, like let's try to do or having like just having a conversation beforehand about like gifts, like what do they mean and that. And when grandma goes and gets the gift, what's involved? You think she has to get in her car, she has to go to Target, she has to pick out the gift, or go online, pick out the gift, spends money, that wraps it up, and that, like showing them like kind of like the steps before and saying, okay, sometimes you're going to like it and sometimes not, and it's important to be honest. And if you don't, you can also say just one thing about like one thing maybe you would like it, or maybe I don't like it, but like maybe this, like my sister might like it, or I really appreciate like you took the effort, or but also it's more about kind of tempering our expectations of like they're going to react how they react, and to like kind of stop that spiral of, oh my god, they're so impolite, and then that's going to reflect on me and that, and like maybe that's another conversation with your parent about man, like I'm sorry, or even make some have some levity in it and
Mhm.
say, that's got no filter, what can we do,
So this is
but like
helping
expressing
us as the
gratitude.
parents. This is
Yeah.
helping us as parents not spiral, not spin, and manage our own feelings around what the kid may or may not say or do when they receive gifts from family members. And that's really important because if
Exactly.
we're distressed about our own kids' reactions,
Hmm.
we're also not able to be in the moment. We're worrying, and then it makes the holiday or the
Hmm.
gatherings more stressful for us than it needs to be. So
Exactly. And I think here, like in other places, but here especially, shame really comes in because it's like they're having a reaction. It puts the shame on you. You feel bad. You feel good. You feel put on the spot. Like, oh my gosh, like this is I want to melt into the floor moment. And then a lot of times you can kind of like it kind of like goes into a mode where, hey, don't say that, or that's rude. Don't say that to grandma, or that's a terrible. Say you
That's
thank you. Say,
automatic. Hmm.
automatic because you just want to fix it, or you're just like horrified. And I think it's important to like just pause and sort of like maybe that's the time where it's like, okay, honey, like let's go over and you just take a beat. You just take a beat to kind of reset and say, okay, like this was embarrassing for me. Like they're fine. This was embarrassing for me, and also this isn't an emergency, and I can just take a beat, and then I can like sidebar with whoever gave the gift and say, hey, I really appreciate it, now a lot of times what will happen is like give the kid some time and they'll come back after, and like that initial reaction is not always representative of how
Final.
they feel, like it's just the in the moment,
It's not
like,
final.
and then they can, or you can just take a beat and like go and talk to your kid, reset and that, and then maybe they can come back later and say, oh, I appreciate. So it's not, it's just a react. That's all it is. It's just an initial reaction, right? I
Yes.
I remember witnessing, like when I was last 2 years ago, I was in a house where there was a lot of gift giving, and like one young child opened it up, literally tossed it aside, and then maybe half an hour, because there was so much going on. It's overload, right? Especially when if it's a type of thing where it's one gift after the next, and you just get caught up in the whole thing.
Hmm.
Where then later, after things settled and that, they came back and they were engaging with it, and then that was the time of connection. So think about it
Mm.
like this is a reaction. This could be like the moment where they connect with the gift or whatever. The person that gave the gift can come later or say, okay, let's just like take a break and let's go get you a snack or whatever. And then they can come back and then they can have that where then the person who gave the gift doesn't feel so slighted. Or you yourself, like let's say you gave a gift and you don't get the desired reaction, you can kind of just take a beat and say, all right, mommy
Yeah.
needs, a breath of fresh air, rather than jumping to, well, you ungrateful this and you,
Right.
why
And
is it,
then
or turning to your
escalating.
partner, say, why are they acting like you guys are so ungrateful and we put this and that, and going into like a reaction.
Panic.
So
Hmm.
also bringing up the point of reaction versus response,
Response.
so, and the pause is
Okay.
very important so that like they've reacted because their frontal lobes
It's
are
not
not
fully
formed, like
developed.
they're reacting, they don't know, but we have that, or,
Uh-huh.
and it's hard enough for us, let alone for kids, but you have that. So you have that, that's more accessible to us to
To
take
us.
that pause and
So
then say,
the
so.
so the trend I'm seeing in terms of navigating parenting around the holidays,
Mhm,
meals, and gift giving, one thing that you're consistently saying is huddling, preparation, setting expectations. Like that's
mhm,
beforehand. I think for both scenarios, you're emphasizing setting expectations and
mhm,
preparing with your crew, your
mhm,
kid crew.
mhm,
And then if things were to happen in the moment, to look at the age, but
mhm.
also not react. Take a break so that we allow ourselves to breathe and
Yeah.
then think through it and have our
Mhm.
wise mind kind of be in charge before setting a response later. I think that learning, like I'm learning this as well, or reiterating it for me as well as we prepare for the holidays, because these are
Yeah.
things that come up and can cause the holidays to be unnecessarily stressful. So, but by
Yeah.
making these preparations ahead of time, we're reducing our own
Mhm,
anxiety, preparing the kids,
mhm.
reducing the potential for mishaps and
Yeah.
things like that. Okay.
Yeah.
There are
And
many
now
more.
there's
Uh-huh,
there's like one other thing I want to say to this
uh-huh.
point is that, everything we're doing as parents is, whether we like it or not, modeling something for our kids, whether we like it or not. Like that transcends language, religion, whatever, like, conversations, like when you're doing something, you're showing them this is how this is done, or this is what's done, whether it's positive coping mechanisms, negative, whatever it is. So like even just modeling the way that you talk to your kids about feelings, like let's say a scenario that's definitely happened in our house,
Mhm,
probably yours too,
uh-huh,
is I give my child the Paw Patrol gift,
uh-huh,
and the Paw
mhm,
Patrol gift is not the one that was desired, and then it's
mhm.
like, I didn't want, Chase mighty pup. I wanted,
Some other thing.
whatever, sky, fly, whatever.
Rocky
Like,
swimmer.
this isn't what I want. Yeah. And then you are taken aback and say, oh, and then in that moment where you're feeling you say, wow, like that really made me feel really down. Like, I hope that you would have liked this gift, but now I'm feeling a little disappointed that you didn't like it. And that makes me feel bad. And how are you feeling? Rather than going into the anger mode, which is very like kind of the default circuit, but to show like, oh man, like, and then they can then share, oh yeah, I'm feeling upset. I'm feeling angry. Okay, we can talk about these things. And then where do we go from here? Okay, do we want to keep it? Do we want to maybe keep it for a friend who we know likes, who we know would like this gift? Or, maybe we can put that on the list for the next occasion, as a gift. Or maybe if I have the receipt, we can go exchange it. Or maybe, it's just like sometimes we get things we don't like. And that's part of life. And that's part of some gifts you're going to love and some you're not. And it's all kind of part of the deal, but you can talk about it as opposed to, feeling like you have to hide your own reaction and feeling like you can take that as a teaching moment for your child.
Showing them how you're processing your emotions so that they can learn from that as well. That's really powerful. That's powerful. All right. There's so much more that we can share. And I feel like we need a part 2, but we're trying to, keep it in time so that people can get, short bites of education. So I want to thank you again for taking the time to come share in this place. If people want to find you, what's the best place or way that they can find you?
You can find me. I've got, I'll put the link for you in your notes.
Okay.
But I have, the site on my Man My Path site, and I'm also on social media, so we can do the link to my Instagram. And I look forward to doing more lives, and I'd love to engage more with your audience. Like if there's questions that they have about, is this normal? Where do I need to be concerned? What's within the realm of what's expected within this range of other issues and topics and parenting, which is the hardest job ever. Love to have more conversations.
All right, we'll see. The questions will come and we'll tag you and we'll watch and be able to provide some response. But thank you so very much. We definitely will have another round of this maybe before the holidays are over. I feel like there's so much that happens during the holidays to touch on from the
we'll unpack the holidays like we're all unpacking our gifts. We can then unpack the holidays.
Thank you so very much for coming. Again, my name is Bolanle Akinrambi, psychiatrist at Brightminds MD, New Jersey. Website is brightmindsmd.com for appointments for all patients, and Dr. Aldhaher will put her appointment link as well in the notes. Thanks again, and we'll have to wrap it up. We hope everyone's gotten some useful tool today to help them through the holidays as parents. Thanks again.
Okay, take care.